Welcome to another session of Yeshiva Classroom, and we're here every week time, and we want to give you a short introductory course in basic Torah Judaism, and I advise, if you can, get a piece of paper and pen, and you can jot these Torah sources to look up to show the source material of what I will be speaking about. And today we're going to speak about basically Judaism 101. And you know, we have Torah, we have the 5 books of Moses, also known as the Torah, and that is our Bible, our only Bible that we have. And in that Bible, the first sentence, we'll go right to the first sentence. God, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The second sentence says, and the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. Now that's a very significant sentence, because we learn out, from the oral Bible, the Talmud, that God is teaching us that mankind should have a surrogate that would be a representative, so to speak, of God and His teachings, right? The Ruach Elokim Merachefes al Pnei Hamayim. The Spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters. That's in Genesis, right? Bereshit, the first book of the Bible, chapter 1, verse 2. And God was looking for a person who would be aware that there is a God, a one God, the creator of heaven and earth. And there are many people from Adam, the first man, who had communications with God, and he was told to work and guard the teachings, right? Adam was told to work and guard the teachings. That's in Genesis. So what happened shortly thereafter? Mankind began to give service to the supporters of God, the heavens and the stars and the moon and the sun, and Adam and his descendants forgot about the Creator, God, the Creator of heavens and earth, and mankind began to worship gradually these helpers or hosts of the heavens and the earth, even stooping so low as to worship idols and what have you. And God was aware that man would stoop to these levels and not become aware that there is a God and the purpose of God and the purpose of man in this short time that he's on this earth. Now we find that Adam's descendants, Seth, namely, his son, was worshiping idols and the host of the heavens, and forgot about God. The children and offspring of Cain, right? We have Adam had 3 sons: Cain, Abel, and Seth later on. And we see that the Bible in Genesis mentions the descendants of Cain in Hebrew, as going astray, to the extent that they went after business and entertainment and weaponry, because it mentions the sons of Lemach was the descendant of Adam, as creating or finding these particular endeavors of business, moving the portable tent. Yubal is the creator of the musical instruments, and Tubal-Cain was a forger of metals and metallurgy and weaponry. So his descendants of Lemach and previous Cain were wiped out in the flood. Remember, Cain killed Abel, but Cain produced other generations, and we find that Lemach, a descendant of Adam, was wiped out in the flood. So we only have Seth left over and his descendants, and the mantle of materialism and accumulation of wealth weighed heavily on Seth's sons and grandchildren, but there were individuals who understood and rationalized, observed that there is one God, and were not following the masses. And they, namely, if you look in chapter 5, it gives the descendants, and we know that Hanach went up to heaven with God. Methuselah was a righteous individual. Lemach, of the seed of Seth. There's another Lemach in Cain's seed. But Lemach in the seed of Seth gave birth to Noah, and Noah, the gentleman in the flood, was saved, and after the destruction of mankind, being that mankind was going on a precarious, slopey, downhill slide. And God, in His infinite wisdom and kindness, brought them out immediately, and they were destroyed, but the souls of the righteous that were there at that time lived on. And that's what we have today. You know, we speak about the Holocaust, but we don't want to get into that right now. So what happened? Again, God was looking for a surrogate to realize that there was an individual who would pass down this teaching of the uniqueness and wonders of a one God to throughout the generations, and to be a light unto the nations. So they too will earn the realization of the uniqueness of one God, the creator of heaven and earth, and thereby come to worship Him and express their kindness for His acts. And so the entire world would be able to experience and realize the uniqueness of God, and acknowledge that for all mankind, so that they can accrue holiness and earn the next world. Because that's the purpose of this world. The purpose of this world is to choose virtuously in all your interactions, so as to attain a higher mark and in this world. And the closer you are to God in this world, the closer you are to God in the next world, by giving praise and shevach in Hebrew for all that God has given, and showing everyone and everybody the uniqueness of our Creator, and thereby praise, and thereby earn the next world. So here we're jumping a little bit ahead of ourselves, and Noah was saved because he had a lot of righteousness, and God saw that he would be a light into the nations for a time, because in a short while after his descendants, Noah having 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, had a particular bright son in Shem, who was given the land of Israel. And just in general speaking, that, Abbas of the Palestinian Authority saying that we are Canaanites, and Abraham and the Jewish people, Moses, threw us out. But if you look further, you will see that Noah gave his 3 children particles of this world. And Japheth he gave Turkey, Greece, India. To Shem he gave the Holy Land of Israel to the Jewish people, that we see, that it is in the hands of the Jewish people, no matter what the world is thinking and what the world wants. Israel has hold of the land, because God promised the land of Israel to the Jewish people. And then we have Ham, who was given the land of Africa. But Ham and his descendants, Canaan and took over the land of Canaan, which was not their land. Even though Abbas wants to claim that he is a Canaanite, it was stolen from the original people back then. And he belongs, Canaan and Abbas belong in Africa. So they're interlopers and they are stealers. So at the UN, when Abbas says, well, I'm a Canaanite and Moses drove me out, it's to realize that he never belonged there in the beginning, and he stole that land. So here, let's get back to God's searching for this individual that would perpetuate his teachings and realize that there is a one God, and that being Abraham. He came to the fore, and he was a person that through rationalization, observation, and tradition from Adam, he picked all of these things out, because we see that Abraham was at 58 years of age when he died, and he was still in the lifespan of Noah, and Noah lived in a lifespan of Methuselah, and Methuselah lived in a lifespan of Adam. So Abraham got this through tradition, we just pointed out, through observation and rationalization. He saw all the movements that transpired in the environment, and came to that conclusion. Just like today, you have the agnostics and the evolutionists want to try to knock the realization that there's only one God, and they continue to argue when the proof is right in their face. I mean, we brought out in previous occasions the peanut. Like, the peanut knew that man was going to eat it, so being that it grows under the ground, and it has a brittle shell, which could allow dirt to get into the shell and dirty the peanut. But the peanut knew that this is going to happen. So what happened? He grew a tissue-like substance around the peanut, so no dirt could get into the peanut, and he just slipped the tissue off, and he had a clean peanut. Now you bring this to the evolutionist and he says, well, you know, he can't answer. He'll double talk you about something about computers, or the wording of the Bible is different in Genesis, and you change the subject. And here's another little tidbit that we give the agnostics and the atheists and the evolutionists who say we descended from the slime cell, and most of the world believes that. If we're descended from the slime cell, then it's all right to kill and to murder, because it was only a slime cell. But Abraham came to the conclusion, as we mentioned, and another, not that he was aware of these things, but for instance, we take today the louse, L-O-U-S-E, plural lice, and that little minuscule, not to be able to be seen with the naked eye, has the ability to cement itself. It has a substance within its body to exude a substance and attach itself to the host hair cell, hair follicles. And once he's attached, and this cannot be, it's hardened, and he exudes this from his body, his minuscule body, and once it hardens, he is able, with his proboscis that God so happened to give him, Mother Nature evolutionists want to say, that this proboscis enabled him to make a slit onto the host cell, and then he has the ability within him to exude a anticoagulant substance, so that the blood will not coagulate, and therefore the louse, can suck out the blood, right? The louse can suck out the blood. So, you know, so that to the evolutionists, and they hem and haw. They can't answer it. But what happened was that Abraham came to that conclusion. Abraham came to the conclusion that there is a one God through environmental factors that were shown to him, or that he could observe, namely the water cycle, where the water comes down to the ocean, and to the landmass, and it comes down in gentle drops, because God knows there are inhabitants there. And he goes to the streams, and it waters the land, and it's able to produce water and minerals dissolved in it necessary for the plant growth. And excess water goes into the oceans, where the clouds and the wind, the sun evaporate the water vapor, right? Water vapor being lighter than air, right? The water vapor is evaporated and cleansed, right? The foreign materials are left in the ocean, and the water vapor is blown over the land by the wind, and you have a cycle repeated again, and we're using the same water over and over again. So people wonder, I mean, if it keeps raining, Abraham probably came to that conclusion, that since it keeps raining and it goes into the oceans, how come the oceans don't inundate the land? If water keeps on coming and coming and coming throughout the year, how come the shorelines remain the same? So he probably concluded that, as we know today, that the water is recycled over and over again. So finally it was determined that by God that Abraham will teach his children and his offspring the ways of God, of charity and justice. So that we find in chapter 18, mark it down, Genesis chapter 18, verse 19, that God said, I know that Abraham will teach his children and his offspring and his household the ways of God, and of charity and justice and righteousness, which is the ways of the Torah. Its paths are just, and its teachings are pleasant. That's in Proverbs. And while we're in Proverbs, Mishlei, right? It says over there that it says, whoever does not give ear to my Torah, his prayer is an abomination. His prayer is an abomination. Whoever does not give ear to my teachings, to my Torah, his prayer is an abomination. That's in Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, one of the 24 written books of the Jewish Bible. Tanakh, in other words. The Torah is part of that 24. So God knew that Abraham would teach his children, and even today we have that remnant of Jewish people, you call them observant, Orthodox, that carry on this tradition. And unlike the reformists or the fifth columnists who want to change the mode of operations and pick and choose like it's a restaurant, like you this I don't like, you I like, this I like. Judaism is not a restaurant. We have the teachings in the Torah, and they were expounded and explained during the 40 years that the Jews traveled in the desert, asking questions on what it means to be that which is written in the Bible, right? Like on matzah, on Passover, we eat matzah, right? We eat matzah to commemorate that God's ability to take us out from the hands of slavery, right? That's the first commandment. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Why did it have to add, it brought you out of the land of Egypt? Because God is able to do everything that he wants. And he gave us back the land of Israel, although we don't appreciate it today, right? We think it's because of our own sweat and hard work. We earned the land in front of all the wolves of the nations who want to claim that as their holy land. Everything based on the Bible that says that this is the holy land where God gave the Torah and the teachings to the Jewish people. But here we are. We saw in Genesis chapter 18, verse 19, that God knew the future. How does God know the future? And especially if man has free will, right? God knows every possible conclusion that man could possibly choose. So being that God knows all the possible choosings that man could possibly choose, he knows that conclusion because he knows all of them. And when we say free will, man has the ability to choose virtuously, to think in his mind what he wants to do. But the actual act of choosing or deciding to do something, the motion, is determined by God, right? It's a reciprocal, a dual relationship between man and God. Man can think what he wants to do, but God determines whether that act will go into fruition. God, free will. Choose it virtuously choose virtuously so that you may accumulate holiness points and your desire, and not be affected by the evil inclination, which was there as a block and not an easy road to get the holiness points, right? We learn about the evil inclination on Genesis 4:21. On Genesis 4:7, and also in 8:21. Write it down. Chapters 4:7 and chapters 8:21 or 23. It's around that area. So where are we? So we have a terrible responsibility in that Jewish people were chosen to carry out the mitzvahs and to do the surrogate teachings of God that we learn out from the Torah, right? Because what is the Torah? It's a schematic. It's a schematic historical history from the beginning of time and the creation of man, all the way to the most righteous people and their relation, that being the Jews, and their relationship with God, and the events that transpire in the Bible, and there are many of them between the most righteous people, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Joshua, on and on we go, even to Tanakh. These events are times when God is able to put his thoughts, theories, and teachings into these events. His thoughts, teachings, and theories. His thoughts, teachings, and theories. And that's why we have to study these events that transpire in the Bible. Unfortunately, today, the quote-unquote